Congratulations again on the role in the paper. I feel as though it's kind of a different role than we see from you because Dietrich is kind of, like all of the characters, a little different, shall we say. So, can you talk to me a little bit about stepping into a role that's sort of a different form than we're used to seeing you in?
Yeah, it was something I was excited to do. It was something I was looking to do. I feel like a lot of times that you play a similar character so much, people think, oh, that's who he is, that's what he does. And I like to kind of switch it up. Throughout my career, it's like I kind of fall into a pattern of playing a similar character. Like once you do it one time, people just want you to do it. I played like a basketball player like 5 times in a row, and then I played like a gangster like 4 or 5 times in a row, and there's every type of gangster, retired gangster, like all of. So I was like, it's time for me to kind of just move into a different space. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to explore a different character, and I was able to do that with Detrick.
Shout out to Manboy though, because really love that snowfall.
For sure, yeah, yeah. I'm excited to get back in that space, and the good thing is too, once I kind of leave a space and do something else, it gives me freedom to go back. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, he does this too, okay, and he could do this. So it's not like he's just man boy. Because after that, there's gonna be no remnants of man boy, so I can kind of go back and do a version of that again.
These are facts. I love the
Yeah,
range. I love the versatility. So you got your
thank
start on
you.
Vine, which, 6 seconds to grab attention. How do you transfer that sort of, gift? Because it's really hard. And right now, attention is currency. We see the fight for it all over. So how do you utilize that both in your roles and in other aspects of social media and production?
So I was acting before Vine. Like I started acting in college in 2008. Decided to move to California in 2011 to pursue acting and just kind of hit the ground running, doing short films, student films, low budget films, up until maybe 2013. And I wasn't getting the opportunities that I felt like I needed to get real representation. And I couldn't get the real representation because I didn't have the real credits. So I was like, I got to figure out another approach because it's not working the way I wanted to work. And I saw social media as a tool to build an audience, and that audience would therefore become valuable to a production or an agency or whatever the case may be. So when I started Vine, I did it for the reason of helping me. I did it for the reason of leveraging it to transitioning to traditional acting. But I definitely learned a lot doing social media. I was able to sharpen a lot of tools. Before that, I hadn't really done much comedy. I learned a lot of comedy from just repetition. Doing Vine, we would shoot multiple videos a day. Every day we would link up, maybe shoot 6 videos, maybe 2 for yourself, and then hop on other people's videos. So I was able to really just sharpen my comedic tools. And also too, I just kind of gained a love for creating. I always felt like I would write at some point or create at some point in my career, but I always thought it would be later on. I didn't think it would be like first. And I just kind of really fell in love with just creating and just being able to write and understand character development and story arc and character arc. I'm able to bring that into traditional spaces, and also just an understanding of editing, understanding of like camera placement and how things work from a production point of view. I think it assists me as an actor too,
So
because
that's
doing
interesting.
social media, you do everything yourself.
Right, facts. It's interesting you bring that up because one of the pushbacks that you often hear is that creators and stars that come from the digital space and then crossover, so to speak, don't have those basic tenements of the craft and things of that nature. So the fact that you said that that was one of the things that you learned from that is really poignant. What are some other things that you took from that to expand? And I'm sorry if I was interrupting your point. Please expand.
No, 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 not at all. So I think a big misconception, or I don't even want to say it's a misconception, but it's just content creator, influencer is a really big umbrella, and they kind of just you just push them all together. Like to be a content creator, influencer, you can cook, you could do comedy, you could do pranks, you could do interviews, you could vlog, you could stream. Like there's so many things. It's like saying somebody is an athlete. You know what I mean? It's so many different sports you could play. And so to say that everything doesn't translate into film and TV, it wouldn't make sense for everything to translate. If you do personality driven things, it might make more sense for you to translate to being like a host or on-screen personality. If you do, if you create a lot of short films, it might translate into you being a director. But I think the misconception comes with people with a big audience. They Productions sometimes try to leverage that into being an actor because they think it'll bring their audience over to their production and then eyeballs or money. But if this person's not acting on camera in their content, you can expect them to understand all of the dynamics of acting on screen. If they cook, then it might make more sense for them to be on a cooking show. But for me personally, creating online definitely helped me sharpen a lot of tools that I could bring into the traditional space. It helped me with my confidence. It helped me understand myself, editing hours of like my footage and my face. I understand what's funny. I understand, how I'm looking on camera, understand the angles, I understand the pacing. I understand what's necessary and what's not, what's fluff, how to, keep a story going, how to not get derailed, trying to improv too much. There's a lot of little small intricacies that come with it that I was able to learn doing social media. And then also just understanding, not understanding, but navigating, not celebrity, but the stuff off camera, like dealing with people and prioritizing yourself and prioritizing family and balance and not getting caught up in doing things for attention. All attention ain't equal. So I learned a lot of life lessons through social media. I learned a lot about creating. I learned a lot about myself, and I'm happy I was able to experience attention and quote unquote fame at an earlier point in my life where the stakes weren't as high. So now I kind of know how to navigate this space as I'm older now.
So you mentioned off camera, off screen, and the life you built there and the expectations. And you're building an empire, so to speak, at your home, the bungalows, the Jurassic Park theaters, all of those things. Do you see a connection between creating in those spaces and the way that you build characters?
Yeah, I think building stuff like with your hands, like DIY stuff or craftsmanship, you just gotta focus on one step at a time. You need a strong foundation. You gotta kind of focus. You gotta plan, and you just gotta execute. And I feel like that applies to life in general, anything, relationships, a career, um, everything. If you build a strong foundation, it'll last. If you just focus on, one brick at a time, brick by brick, you'll build something, grand, something bigger than what you can see right in front of you. So I definitely enjoy building and craftsmanship, and it's also meditative for me. I don't have my phone with me. If anything, if I'm recording it, my phone on airplane mode, so I can record it, and I'm just kind of focusing on the task at hand, and then to be able to look at it, take a step back and look at what I created, and especially if it's something that's kind of functional or something fun for the kids, you just kind of sit back and appreciate it, which is hard to do in this industry because you're always thinking about what's next or what somebody else has. But when you're building something, it's like you actually cross a finish line and you can kind of just enjoy it and revel at it and not think about like what am I building next. So I try to apply that to life.
So if you could allow access to one of the characters you play to your DIY inner sanctum, which one would it be, and what do you think that they would be most attracted to in that?
Detrick has a scene in the show where he watches a 2 hour YouTube video or a 12 hour YouTube video. I forget it. He watches a long YouTube video a couple times and he orders the right kind of knives and he carves a bird for his crush and then he dyes the bird and he makes little glasses for it. So I think he'd be the best at building.
So, kind of in wrapping up, you played ball players, hustlers, dreamers, and now a newsroom cowboy, so to speak. If you had to mash them all up into one character, sort of the ultimate Melvin Gregg character, what would that look like, and what traits or characteristics would you pull from them?
It'll look like me. It'll look like me. I feel like each character is a different side of me, maybe at a different point in my life or with different circumstances or a different perspective. But it all comes from me and my experiences. I try to ground every character in my reality. And while I'm filming, I kind of become a part of that character because, like I said, all of it comes from me and my experience. Like Detrick was, a lot of my odd quirks or like spaces where I'm offbeat, which I've learned to mask in real life. But with Detrick, I kind of just be free to sit weird or not know what to say or not know the right thing to say. Whereas, Melvin, because of society, I've learned how to mask a lot of these things and quote unquote be cool. Detrick has no concern for that. He's completely honest with whatever he's feeling at the time. And he's insecure a lot and he's unsure a lot, which I think a lot of people are, but we just learn how to mask those things. And he's more transparent and vulnerable. And maybe as the show goes on, he'll learn how to mask them. I don't know if he'll be better for it, but it's just kind of human conditioning. Man, boy, it was a lot of what I grew up around. It's probably the character my dad is most proud of because it's closer to him, is a path that I could have took at one point in my life. I thought it was the path I wanted to take because that's what I seen around me. So it's just like, oh, I get to do all the bad things that like I might have fantasized about doing without the repercussions of, that lifestyle. So that's great. Playing basketball. I was never the best basketball player, but I've been playing all my life. But of course, every young kid has the idea of like, oh man, I want to be the man in high school on a varsity basketball team, dating a cheerleader, like, this draft pick. So all of these are like different little fantasies that I've lived out of my mind and now I get to live them out on screen. But it all derives from like me. So I think all of them encompassed together would probably just be me.
The last question, wrapping up, you mentioned how you learned production value, writing, characterization, and so forth. If you could put together your own project and budget was no object, what would that be? Would you direct? Would you write? Would you just produce? And would you act in it? Because I've talked to some actors and they say they're not sure if they would want to direct themselves. So is that something that you would want to dive into?
So I write, so I have very specific answers to this question. I've been writing for like consistently every day for like maybe the last 5 years. I put more time into writing than I did in social media. The only difference is social media, you put it out the next day and you got instant gratification. When you're writing, you're just kind of secluded in a room and you don't know if the world loves it until it gets made. So I definitely consider myself a writer and I'm very um, intentional with what I write and why. It kind of put me in a space so I could pretty much do anything and everything. I do have a project that I'm working on right now that I approached it with like, don't worry about the parameters of a budget or whatever. Like, if you could do anything that you want to do, make this it because this is the goal to get to a place to do anything you want to do. So it's a Christmas film that involves sports and has a lot of heart. It's funny, it has dramatic moments, it's a strong character arc. It has social commentary that's kind of, put in there. It's very, very thought out. I've been writing for a while, like a couple years, and I'm very meticulous and like perfectionist in a way, sometimes to a fault that I'm working on, but hopefully, not hopefully, but yeah, hopefully soon the world will see it. They'll see it eventually. And with this project, I don't want to direct it just because I would want to be able to trust somebody else to oversee everything else so I could just really focus on the character. I feel like if you do everything, something's gonna suffer. And some projects, like if I have a character that's not as demanding, um, I could direct it as well. If it's more about the world that exists around me, but things that are really character driven, that I need to focus specifically on a character, I would probably entrust somebody else to direct. But I'm definitely going to direct in the future with things I'm not involved in at all. Writing, I'm mainly focusing on things I want to be in. because I write from my perspective and it's things that I understand. So I feel like I'll be valuable to those projects. But who knows what the future holds? I might, end up writing things for worlds that I've never even, stepped in. But for now, the focus is the paper. Hopefully people watch it, they love it, and they look forward to seeing a season two. Because we already lit for season two, and I'm gonna just continue to focus on things I want to do outside of the paper, and just continue to create and stay true to myself.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank
Continued
you so
success.
much.